Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Mainagate, if you're familiar with it, yes, let's get back to the conversation. If you are not, that was the conversation about billions of naira of pensions funds. A man that was said to have eloped out of the country. When he returned, when he came back to service, he did promotion examination. He got promoted to be a director. He was, admitted to work in the Ministry of Interior. He was even said to have been paid a backlog of the salaries when he was away. Remember, he was said to have been dismissed from service because of absconding from work. So how did he get back to work? And where is Mr. Maina? So many questions. Mr. Tunji Abayomi is our guest on the program. He's a chieftain of the APC, the party that promised Nigeria change. And one of it is that they said they will fight corruption. And also we have a political analyst and a lawyer, Mr. Liberus Oshoma. Both of them are giving us a sense of what all of this is all about. And the reason why we're talking tonight is because we've not heard in a long time what is the case is all about and where it's headed. The advisor of the president did say, no, it has not been swept under the carpet. But where exactly are we headed? Mr. Abayomi,
yes.
When this kind of case is coming, and it looks like it is shaking the roots of the cabinet of this government, and because if you see senior members of staff there, even if you tell the blind and the deaf about this case, there is conjecture. Most Nigerians know that this may not be unconnected. The drama that we saw between the HOS there and the chief of staff may not be unconnected with this leaked letter. But again, where do we head on this kind of matter? If you were the president, what would you have done?
Well, the president has requested for further clarification on this issue.
But it's not as if the president was not aware in the first place. That's what the leaked memo did talk about.
Yes, the president may have been aware from one source or from two sources. But what is apparent now, and there were several sources that were involved. For example, the Attorney General wrote a memo essentially putting Maina back to office, suggesting in his memo. Now, that obviously went to his ministry and obviously responding to the memo. The issue, of course, is also complicated by the fact that I understand that is the ministry's senior staff or something that actually essentially lifted Maina out of his predicament based on the Attorney General's position. The point that should be appreciated is that the government is not a perfect government. There are no perfect governments.
Let me give an instance. When you're talking about a government in the United States, the Vice President Mike Pence in the United States was misled by a member of that government. And what happened to that person? He was fired.
Yes. But
when the president is misled in this kind of situation in Nigeria, what do you think should happen?
If the vice president is misled in America and he was fired, Nigeria is not America. The issues that confront us, the dynamics of government, the personal disposition, the issue of justice, understanding, and so on and so forth, is a prerogative of the president. And we must appreciate something here.
When there's an issue that may bring a dent to your major agenda, at the agenda of your government, if you are the president, speaking as a president now,
yes,
you wouldn't take a quick action?
And let us understand something, and we should be very clear on this. Buhari's government did not create corruption in Nigeria. Buhari's government is confronting corruption in the interest of the people of Nigeria. Buhari's government is dealing with the greatest and the deepest, the vastest, the most disturbing national neurosis, and took it as a policy position right from the beginning. Now, like I have said, in this particular station, under a different program, corruption in Nigeria is like a wasting disease. At the early stage, and Buhari wasn't there in 1960, at the early stage, it is difficult to detect and easy to kill. But we are now at a late stage. When Buhari came in, it is now easy to detect, but difficult to kill.
Right.
And it's making a lot of error. So if I was the president, what would I do in this type of situation? It's exactly what the president is doing. I ask for further clarification before I take a position. That is even what justice requires.
All right. Mr. Liberals Oshoma, if you look at the cases over Mr. Mena, the warrant of arrest, the quashing of the judgment, and a whole lot of issues that have happened, I'll put you in this difficult situation also. If you were the president and you wanted to fight corruption, what would you do?
Seun, the issues are very clear, except we are deluding ourselves. We need further clarification. Except we don't want to act. The issues are too prone. First and foremost, what led to Mena's dismissal? Was it the warrant of arrest, or was he dismissed pursuant to Rule 04412 of the Public Service Rules that says once you abscond yourself from duty, you are dismissed from duty? Mena was issued a query in February 2013, February 15, 2013, and as at that time, Mena had gone to court to challenge the warrant of arrest issued against him. And on the 27th of March 2013, shortly after he was dismissed, the court, per Justice Adamu Bello, delivered a ruling, a judgment, quashing that warrant of arrest. Mena did not challenge his dismissal. And also, Mena, by virtue of Section 2 of the Public Officers Protection Act, had 3 months within which to challenge that dismissal. He did not. And so, 4 years later, a government that is fighting corruption sits down, officers of the government sits down, and then writes legal opinions, legal advice, insisting that Mena should be reinstated. In a country where salaries, workers are own salaries, immediately he's reinstated. His salary arrears were paid immediately. And this is a man who is still on the watch list. This is a man who in July 2015 was charged alongside by EFCC, alongside Stephen Orosaye,
these are just charges.
So let's put this in perspective, because
we need to close now.
The impression is that Mena, the impression that people give is that Mena had been cleared. That's even the impression that the Attorney General gave. Meanwhile, there is a charge. And so, if the FCC had charged him to court for corruption, and yet you give the impression that the man should be reinstated because a court had ordered his reinstatement when there were no such judgment. And then the Attorney General is still sitting in his seat. You are asking for further clarification. The Minister for Interior is still there. You are asking for further clarification. And even to ice the cake quickly, to ice the cake, the head of service had come out to say, even Mr. President, you are aware because I briefed you. Right. So what are we talking about?
We need to go now. Many thanks, Mr. Tunji Abarami. Always a pleasure having you. Mr. Liberals Oshoma, thank you so much for the time. And so that's our show for tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of it. I'm Seun Okinmaloye. Good night, everyone.